Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the long-timers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. Hello and good morning to our friends joining us on the live stream. Gwendolyn Brooks wrote, "We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond." And today in worship, we round out this month's worship theme of becoming each other's harvest. And we encourage each other today to reclaim creativity and art in our lives. If you're new to Throop, we would love to stay in touch. You can fill out an info card found in the back of the pew. And welcome. We're glad you're with us this Sunday morning. And each one of us is a light in the world, and the flame from our chalice symbolizes and reflects that light.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame from our candles of hope and witness. In the glow of summer air, may we pause today and consider all that we have been and all that we are still yet to become in this community. Made sacred by our presence, may we encourage one another to set aside space for our creative pursuits. We light a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose lands we now occupy. The land under and around Throop was once and is still the home of the Gabrielino Tongva Band of Mission Indian people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into seeking justice and equity for all. We light a third candle symbolizing our watershed, the Arroyo Seco. May their waters continue to nourish life in our communities. We take a moment of silence, holding all of these in our hearts.
And we sing Into the Morning, our opening hymn, number 65, The Sweet June Days. And please rise and sing as body and spirit allow. Number 65.
The sweet June days are come again, once more the gladder yields its golden wealth of winding grain and breath of clover fields, a deepening shade of summer woods and glow of summer air, and winging thoughts and happy moods of love and joy and prayer. The sweet June days are come again, the birds are on the wing, bright and comes in their merry string, unconsciously they sing. Oh, how our color rims with good these happy summer days, and all the joys of field and wood, we lift our song of praise.
And turn to a neighbor and welcome them into worship. responsive reading today is called Summer Meditation, and the congregation will respond with the words, "May our spiritual baskets be filled with love and hope." Let's try that. May our spiritual baskets be filled with love and hope. Now the wind blows with soft, relaxing warmth. The sun beats down, the schools are out, the lakes and seashores lose their solitude, and all the world seems to turn to carnival. May our spiritual baskets be filled with love and hope. What of ourselves? There could be now deep peace, a time for soul searching. We might turn to examine our own lives, to sort and prove our tendencies of thought, to sift the true from the false, to sift the beauty from the ugliness. May our spiritual baskets be filled with love and hope. The sun beats down. It is time for a pause. Even the trees seem to be resting for a time, as if to meditate and gather strength for the more strenuous times that lie ahead. And shall not we too? Here's the unfinished clay, half molded, that still waits on us to think of what we have been and what we are still yet to become. May our spiritual baskets be filled with love and hope. Our story today is called "You Can't Stop the Music," and it's a story of some beings who find ways to come into their own. And I thank Steve, Marissa, Rachel, and Fiona for helping to tell the story today. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a city called Warble. And it was named after the people who lived there. They were furry little creatures who loved to sing, and they were known as the Fuzzy Warblers. There was rarely a moment in the day when these fuzzy warblers were not singing. Even in their sleep, they hummed. Greetings were sung.
Good morning.
Or requests.
Take out the trash, please.
Or reminders.
Don't miss your school bus, dear.
And so it happened in this land that was filled with music. The old king passed away, and a new king came into power. But this king was not like everyone else. He did not have a beautiful singing voice. And no matter how hard he tried, every time he tried to sing, his voice came out sounding like a cross between a duck and a frog.
Give me an A. A. I was born under a wandering star.
And in the midst of all of that, this king just could not bear to hear all of the beautiful singing. And so he issued a decree of silence.
A decree of...
Now, it was a crime for any fuzzy warbler to sing. Well, singing was second nature to them, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't stop singing. Soon, the land was filled with the melancholy, sad songs of the fuzzy warblers.
I miss singing. Wow.
In aggravation, the king decided to pay a sorcerer to come and silence these fuzzy warblers for good. The The sorcerer stood up on the very highest tower and cast a terrible spell that pulled the fuzzy warblers' voices right out of their bodies. The captured voices were pulled out from them. They drifted along the air in a golden mist, and that mist drifted all across the city and was drawn into a large clay jar, which the sorcerer corked up, gave to the king, who hid it in a special place. The fuzzy warblers looked at each other and they tried to sing, but nothing came out. And the whole city was buried in silence. And then one day, a little warbler named Fiona was washing up the dishes from lunch. And without realizing what she was doing, she began tapping a spoon against a pot. And all across the city, the fuzzy warblers stopped what they were doing and they listened. They listened and they began tapping their feet. And everyone in the congregation began tapping their feet. And then they started snapping their fingers. And then they started clapping their hands. And then they started shaking and swishing. Yeah, they were making a joyful noise and it was contagious. In a matter of minutes, everyone was participating in this rhythm, all except for one. And alone in his high palace, the king heard the joyful noise and was enraged. He threw open his window to see what in the world was going on, but he couldn't see anything unusual. No one was singing. People were just going about their business as usual, but they were having way more fun than they were supposed to. The king stood and wondered what in the world is going on when something funny began to happen. One of his fingers began to tap on the balcony rail. And then one of his feet started tapping all on its own. And a few seconds later, the king's head was bobbing, and it was as if his body had been taken over by the spirit of music. Laughing.
The music in me. I sing a song. I am born again.
Okay. And in a religious moment, the king picked up that clay jar and threw it from the top of the balcony. And a shimmering golden cloud raised up, and the fuzzy warblers breathed in. Every voice found its way home, and a more beautiful thing could scarcely be imagined. Many years have passed since then. The fuzzy warblers still sing, and the king is the best dancer in all the land.
Moonwalking.
And with that, the story is ended. Thank you, team. And each week, our children make their own special joyful noise together in our Kids Dig In program. I'd like to thank Jamie for leading that program today. We sing them just as if we are fuzzy warblers into the program, and the words for the song are in your order of worship. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be. Joy Harjo is a poet and musician, and she remembers an early encounter with the world that exists between sound and language. It was an encounter with music, and it was the jazz of John Coltrane. She wrote, "On a humid afternoon, I found a way to hear beyond the ordinary waves of language, a love supreme. I am still on that journey. The stuff I need for singing by whatever means is garnered by every thought, every heart that ever pounded the earth, the intelligence that directs the stars. The shapes of mountains, cities, a whistle leaf of grass, or a human bent with loss. Those all will revise the pattern of the story, the song. I take it from there. I write or play through the heartbreak or the tenderness of being until I am the sky, the earth, the song, the laughter."
If music be the food of love, sing on, sing on, sing on, sing on, till I am filled with joy. For then my listening soul you move, for then my listening soul you move to pleasures that can never cloy. Your eyes, your mien, your tongue declare that you are music everywhere. Your eyes, your mien, your tongue declare that you are music everywhere. Pleasures invade both eye and ear, so fierce, so fierce, so fierce, so fierce, the transports they wound, and all my senses feasted are, and all my senses feasted are, though yet the treat is only sound. Sure I must perish by your charms unless you save me in your arms. Your eyes, your mien, your tongue declare that you are music everywhere.
In so many ways, we help each other rediscover our voices and rediscover the songs of our lives. And we're able to do that for one another because of all the ways you support Throop through your gifts of time and talent and treasure. If you're able to make a financial gift today, we thank you. And you can make that gift online. The ways to do that are in the order of worship, or Jamal will put it in the live stream chat. If you're here in the room, Jean and Marissa are about to pass the offering plates. And if your gift counts toward your pledge, or if you would like us to note it to you, we ask that you use the green envelope and write your name on it. Thank you for all the ways you support our life together. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Earth is our homeland, a song of stars, a grace, wrought with the the certain true love brings. Silence our center, our living water spring. The aching heart knows self apart from whole and mystery. Gatherings of strengthening we'll sing throughout human history.
In a spirit of gratitude, we lift up those who are supporting the worship service this morning. We thank Jamal running the live stream, George for offering our chalice lighting words, Rachel and Fiona, Marissa and Steve for helping to tell the story, Jamie for being with the children's program, Jean and Marissa for greeting and ushering, Cynthia, our coffee and conversation host, Valerie for all of your administrative support, and Megan for your inspiring music. And as we give thanks for these and all the gifts of this community, we share the response to the offering. Those words are in the order of worship. For the ministries of the church and our community, we bless our offering with love and hope. And this past week marked the summer solstice, the longest day of sunshine. Several of us from Throop, including two of our youngest troopers, gathered on the steps of City Hall on Wednesday evening for a special summer solstice rally for clean energy. And our very own Mark gave a compelling speech about the connection between climate change and public health. And this church takes the peril of climate change very seriously. We've done many things in the community to help shift policy, to shift our own practices. And each week we say a promise to our planet, just as our own internal reminder of our connection with our seventh Unitarian Universalist principle. And so we share in those words together now. They're in the order of worship. As members of the family of living beings on earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. With hearts filled with the love for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, we promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself. And in that sense of well-being for ourselves, I invite you to take a breath in and exhale, letting yourself fully land here on this sunny Sunday. And Mia Birdsong, who is a social justice activist, someone who advocates for reclaiming our interdependence, says that turning away from work can feel like an indulgence. But in the context of capitalism, acts of joy are a form of rebellion, a deep affirmation of life, love, creativity, connectedness, and spirit. Our centering hymn is Find a Stillness. That's number 352. And as we sing Find a Stillness together, I'd like you to ponder ways that you are intentionally turning away from work, and ways that you are welcoming in a sense of stillness, a stillness that helps foster creativity and passion in your life.
Find Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. I will find true harmony.
And inviting a sense of stillness, we take a breath in together and exhale. As we take another breath in together and exhale, we welcome this moment of stillness and silence. We'll hold this space together for a few moments, focusing on our breath and our bodies and the connections that weave around and among all of us. For all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Amen.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We will be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. We pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free.
Megan, I have never heard that hymn in that way, and I have been listening to that hymn since 1994. Thank you. Last Sunday, a few of us after worship, we ended up in Megan's piano area. Megan has this way of drawing people to them. And so here we were. Yeah, I know some of you sit near the front because you want to watch Megan actually up close singing and playing the piano. I love that. And so we were down here and we were talking and laughing, and one thing led to another, as it does at church. And before we knew it, we were singing Piano Man with Megan accompanying us on the piano. And it was this really beautiful, totally unscripted, spontaneous moment of church and being together and singing and laughing. And it was just so satisfying. That very brief interlude, it filled me with joy, and it helped fill up my spiritual basket, which had been feeling a little bit light of late. I felt a little bit like a fuzzy warbler, one of those little beings from our story this morning, enjoying the joyful noise of life. And when we think about the pillars of a meaningful life, of a spiritual life, what are some of the things that you know need to be a part of a spiritual life or a meaningful life? Do you want to throw some things out? I'll try to hear you from here. Music, thank you. Family, yep. Laughter, absolutely. Any other ones? Did you just say kittens? Okay, if you think I look tired this morning, you blame Jim. He actually brought some joy into my life this week because he and Gabby gifted me, as it were, 3 new members of my cat family. And yes, I'll show you pictures later. Some of the other things that are part of creating a spiritual life or a meaningful life are finding a sense of belonging. Somebody said family. Time spent in contemplation. We learn and integrate new information, and we need all of those as we deepen our faith formation. And also crucial to our spiritual well-being is the ability to pursue creative pursuits. Eve Rodsky, who is a writer and a speaker on issues of equity in the home, work-life integration, and gender justice, she coined a phrase for this essential part of our lives, and she calls it unicorn space. And what in the world is unicorn space? Is it a room that you set aside in your house and you try to entice those mythical creatures in with rainbow Skittles? It could be, but Rodsky defines unicorn space as the active and open pursuit of self-expression in any form that makes you, you, and which requires values-based curiosity and purposeful sharing by phone, email, social media, or even from your front steps. So it's the active and open pursuit of self-expression. It needs to be in a form that makes you, you, requires values-based curiosity and purposeful sharing it with the world. It's not something you just keep to yourself. And she says that making time for ourselves and creating space for self-expression is vital to our identity. It's as vital to us as paying attention to our physical and emotional well-being. And yet all of us know that when our lives get really, really full, that when the to-do list go over multiple pages, when we're immersed in caring for other people, that this time out of time for ourselves, it's often the very first thing that we just willingly let go of. Other times in our lives, maybe we're not willingly let it go, but all of a sudden we just notice it's like slowly and slowly slipped away until it's not there anymore. And we wonder, what exactly is missing in my life? I look out at you and I see people who are loving partners. I see dedicated parents. I see people who have given untold hours for caregiving of another person. I see professionals who are immersed in your careers. And whichever one of those may apply to you in this moment, like that's part of your identity, I ask you to just set that part of your identity aside for now. And apart from those things, is there something you engage in, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes a day, that makes you feel vibrant and focused, connected, and alive? This activity is separate from friendships, which are also really important. They're separate from self-care, which you absolutely need. And this activity is definitely separate from household chores or any kind of caregiving. It's an activity that gives your life a lift, that makes you feel more authentically you. That when you do it, that you may totally forget about time and place and immerse yourself fully in it. And this immersion makes it hard for you to think about too many other things when you're engaged in it. And if you don't have something in mind yet, continue to ponder it. In some ways, we are still emerging from pandemic living. Just this past week, in a conversation with some people from Throop, we talked about how we thought that once the doors of the world were open again, that we would just resume exactly where we left off. And yet, after 2 years of living so cautiously, our energy had shifted. Just as our bodies have to get back into shape after a period of not moving, our social reserves had to be built back up. And this group of Throop folks noted that it's actually taken us much longer than we had anticipated to have the same capacity for daily activities and social interactions that we had prior to March of 2020. The demands in our lives often leave us saying things like, I am completely overwhelmed. I feel like I am rushing and gasping for air. I'm completely tapped out. I feel like I'm drowning under the weight of it all. Have you heard yourself saying those things or some version of those at some point? An antidote to these feelings is giving ourselves permission to set aside this regular, unprotected time of unicorn space, which is the active and open pursuit of self-expression in any form that makes you, you, and which requires values-based curiosity and purposeful sharing. But self-expression and creativity, do we even have that ability, all of us? What is it even? A few years ago, if you would have asked me, Reverend Tara, do you think you're creative? I would have said, no, I'm not. I am notoriously bad with scissors. Just please take them away from me. My past crafting projects look like winning entries for those memes that say Pinterest versus reality, right? Mine were the reality ones. My knitting projects always show drop stitches. My cupcake decorating always has too many unintentional squiggly lines. And all too often, our creative endeavors, they just fall really short of our expectations. And we are the ones that take on the role of the evil king from our story. We curtail our own voices, our own pursuits of creative projects, because we deem our efforts unworthy, not good enough. and we set them aside so we can be productive. But over the last few years, I've come to appreciate that my creativity shows up in ways that thankfully do not involve scissors. They don't involve a cupcake piping bag either. Rodsky drills down into a definition of creativity, and she says that creativity is not just limited to things like making music or creative writing projects or doing a beautiful visual art installation. She says that creativity is led by our curiosity. That creativity involves developing a new skill set or expanding your knowledge within an area of expertise or learning advancements in your field of interest. Creative living is the active and open pursuit of self-expression in any form that raises and satisfies your curiosity. If you're curious about something, if you love delving into it, that is what can become your very own unicorn space. No Skittles needed. And these activities, when you give yourself permission to do them, they help bring you back into yourself. They help you rediscover and say things like, "Oh, I'm breathing again. I'm awake. I'm falling in love with my life again. I didn't know I was missing anything until I had it back. I'm alive and I'm me." Unicorn space takes many shapes. One way it takes shape is by Steve showing up at Throop or community events with his camera, like he did this past Wednesday at the summer solstice rally for clean energy. He captures these special moments in people's lives. He does it for people or organizations that he loves, and then he freely shares those pictures so we can all remember those moments. On Wednesday, I talked to Steve about his passion for photography, and he just said simply, "You know what? I've always loved doing this. It's a passion of mine, and it's so meaningful for me that I'm able to share it and that people invite me to come and take pictures. Thank you." Unicorn space looks like George and Clara and Paula and Michael, Jamal, Stephanie, David, Arlen, Melanie, Rachel, and so many others that show up week after week to tend the flowers and plants in our Throop Learning Garden. They plant seeds, amend the soil, water regularly, and they do this so that we can enjoy the bounty of the garden. They're doing it for us. They're doing it for our neighbors, so our neighbors have a place of beauty and respite here in downtown Pasadena. Even the insects and wildlife have their own habitat out there. With all the complexities of our lives, this thing of embracing unicorn space, how do we even begin to do it? Well, we start by first learning how to say no. To say no to the things that are not serving us so we can say yes to ourselves. How many times have you heard someone tell you when it comes to your personal finances, pay yourself first? Whenever your paycheck or residual or whatever comes in, tuck a little bit of it aside for you before you start sending it out to everyone else in the world. And the same is so true about our own personal energy. We have to make time for ourselves, and we have to give ourselves the permission to say no. And one of you did that to me this morning, this weekend, in a really beautiful and affirming way, Taryn. And it's like I told Taryn, because you said a really clear no to a request that was not going to fill your heart with joy, I know I can ask Taryn to do other things in the future, because Taryn is not going to give me a begrudging yes and then grumble and feel super grumpy about it and maybe mad at me. So thank you, Taryn, for practicing the art of saying no. Your nose will look different for each and every one of you. For some of you, it's going to look like turning off your cell phone. Put it on airplane mode so you can fully focus on the person or the thing or the garden that's right in front of you, to give yourself that uninterrupted time. If you live in a home where other people have come to expect your undivided attention at all hours, this no could look like you having a conversation with them about your need for protected space, and that's not to take away from your relationship with them, but it's so you can fill up your own well and be even more present to those people you're sharing space with. And when you do have time for this mental freedom, when you turn off your phone, when you're saying a no, I ask you to not fill up that time with social media or more to-do lists or fretting about returning emails. This gift of uninterrupted time and sustained attention to something you love, you deserve it. You deserve that time. I am giving you homework for the summer months. And your homework is to give yourself permission to say no so you can say yes to the things that bring you energy and joy. And so, friends, repeat after me. I give myself permission to say no.
I give myself permission to say no.
Yes! And I will say yes to my unicorn space. I will say yes to my unicorn space. And may this unicorn space offer you a chance to sing, discover, laugh, dance, and remember all of the magic that is you. Let's sing together our closing hymn, Let It Be a Dance, number 311. Please rise and sing and dance as you are able, number 311.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds.
place a hand on your heart and one out to someone in the room or on the live stream. The chalice is extinguished. We take its light with us. May you fully embrace your unicorn space with laughter and family and dance and song and kittens and wonderful food. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen and blessed be.
Yes! I was like, oh yes, success! Hello! Good morning! Hi, hi! Oh yeah! Indeed, William Canavi or Dave and company. Nowadays, like, we'll just see you as like Dave. I think, I want to say Boston. I think it's an East Coast company. I think Boston, if I remember right. Yeah. It made presumably a pretty long time to get here. Yeah. I think they dedicated it in, I want to say the 60s? Actually, wait, no, there's a plaque over here that says